Permission to do something is sometimes the defining factor in whether or not a criminal offense has been committed. If you take a stranger's car without their permission, you have probably stolen it. If that same person gives you permission or says you can, then no offense has occurred. Since this is critical to criminal statutes, the Texas Penal Code very specifically describes when consent is effective or legitimate and when it is not. Consent is defined by the Penal Code as assent in fact, whether express or apparent. So if you call someone on the phone and specifically tell them they can do something, like drive your car, you have given them express consent. Effective consent is a little different, and it includes consent by a person who is legally authorized to act for the owner. For instance, if you hand someone your car keys without saying a word, a reasonable person would probably assume you were giving them permission to drive your car, even though you didn't expressly tell them they could. In this example, you have given effective consent. Since effective consent is less clear than express consent, the Penal Code specifies that consent is not considered effective if it is induced by force, threat, or fraud, or given by a person the actor knows is not legally authorized to act for the owner. So, for example, a child can't give permission for you to take their mom or dad's car. Consent is also not considered effective if it is given by a person who, by reason of youth, mental disease or defect, or intoxication, is known to be unable to make reasonable decisions. So, for example, a person who is heavily intoxicated may verbally agree to having sex, but their consent is not necessarily effective. Finally, consent is not effective if it is given solely to detect the commission of an offense. So a defendant who is caught in an undercover sting can't argue they didn't legally commit a crime because an undercover officer gave them permission to do something as part of the sting.